everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to take a quick minute right here at the beginning and say that it is really cloudy outside today and my light keeps changing, so if it's like shifty and looks like it's in shadow one minute and then you can really see my face in the next, I apologize. Anyway, just wanted to let you guys know what was going on with that. I've been fiddling with it for like 20 minutes and I'm done. I'm done. But today I want to just jump right into the episode and get started talking, so hopefully it's not too long of a video. And today is episode 2 of the series about Cami Peyton that I found on her YouTube channel, and I will have her video that I'm talking about today linked in my description box. And in case you missed my first video about this, I'll put it in the cards up here. Episode 2 that she did was called What the Fuck is Fentanyl? In this episode, Cami meets with Theo, and Theo is the founder and the CEO of Overdose, and I will also have their website linked down in my description box below. Her main questions that she wants answered are, what the fuck is fentanyl, and what do I do, or what does anybody do if they are around someone who is overdosing on fentanyl? Just to give you a little background, Overdose is a company that sends out naloxone, and they also send out fentanyl testing strips, and they will send them all over the United States. Theo started this End Overdose project that he is doing after he lost a woman that he was in love with. So she had sent him a message. He hadn't responded to it because he was sober, and like a month later, he found out from a friend of theirs, a mutual friend of theirs, that she had passed away from an overdose. A friend of Theo's introduced him to naloxone and told him that he should start training people. He has previously worked in like substance use disorder treatment centers. He's also a paramedic, but his friend told him, this is what this is what this does, and you should start training people how to use this. So he started out in his garage. It's a nonprofit organization, and now they have grown. When you watch Cami's video, or if you go and look up End Overdose, you'll see how much they've grown and how much they send out on a day-to-day basis. They also provide training. The goal of Theo's organization is to make it as easy as possible for everyone, not just in the United States, but like worldwide, to be able to have access to naloxone and fentanyl testing strips. They do offer online training through their website, and if you order naloxone or test strips through them, it comes with a QR code. So if you ever need a refresher on your naloxone training, you can scan that QR code and it takes you directly to like a 2-minute online training. I'm also going to link in the cards for you guys up here my video that I have. I am a certified Narcan trainer. You can check that out. It's a short video and it's worth it. End Overdose does require payment for fentanyl test strips. They'll send you naloxone for free. I wasn't able to tell from their website or not if you paid shipping on the naloxone, but I know that you pay it on the fentanyl test strips. Honestly, that's not a bad business practice, but also because fentanyl test strips are expensive, they run on Amazon for about $1 a piece. They're pretty expensive, $1 a piece, especially if you're someone that is experiencing homelessness right now or anything like that. You may not have the money to spend $1 a strip to test your supply. Just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about what I saw that they had offered on there. They have a box that has 5 strips in it for $8. Then they have a box that has 50 test strips in it for $75. Then they also have 2 different sizes of outreach kits. One of them is a small, one of them is a medium, and they start at $250. That's really not bad. Naloxone is expensive too, but when you run a nonprofit harm reduction organization or anything like that, you can apply for grants. They just have to follow the rules of their grants to send out naloxone to certain places, because if you don't have a prescription for naloxone, it runs about $150 per box. And Theo brings up a really good point that I think a lot of people, when they're thinking about harm reduction, so a lot of people don't think about. And he says, once you've lost someone to overdose and you learn that these tools are out here, all you want is for everybody to have it, because when you lose someone to an overdose, all you can think about is, what could I have done differently? And if you have these tools and you know how to use them, the lives that you can save, it's untold. It's really, really easy to get trained and to learn how to use these things. And I know that for some people there is like a price barrier, but at the end of the video and in the description box, I'm going to leave you guys a bunch of resources. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, please reach out to me, reach out to the organizations that I'm going to leave in my description box, because I can make sure that you get what you need. Cami sits down with Theo to get his story, and he says that his addiction started when he was 13 years old. He initially started because he, quote, didn't want to feel the way that I felt at the time, end quote. And that is so common. You will find that said over and over and over. Theo's story, like many others, not everybody else's, started with painkillers. He started with opiates, Oxycontin. He said this was early 2000s, and that at the time when he started using, his first pain medication was given to him from a friend. It wasn't prescribed from a doctor, but later on he did suffer an injury and got a prescription. And after that prescription was out, he said that it was easier for him to go out on the streets and get black tar heroin than it was for him to go and buy alcohol. His use escalated. He went from seeking out pain pills and pain medication to using heroin and fentanyl, and it just grew and grew and grew. And one of the things that I always struggle with when I hear people's stories, there's a lot of blame that is laid on Purdue Pharma. And Cami and Theo in this video, they both talk about Purdue Pharma. And she puts up on the screen the ad that everybody has seen by now, I'm sure, with the guy in the suit that makes him look professional and leads us to believe that we can trust him. And he's supposed to be a certified representative from Purdue Pharma telling us that your doctor may prescribe you pain medication. And less than 1% of people get addicted, because that was like their tagline when they were marketing Oxycontin. I will never, ever, ever in my life take up for Purdue Pharma. I will never take up for the Sackler family. I think that there is a very special place in hell for what they did and for snaking their way out of it in the way that they had. The issue that I have with it is that a lot of people want to say that the crisis that we are in now falls on Purdue's shoulders completely, and it doesn't. This has been going on for decades and decades longer, way before Purdue Pharma stepped onto the platform and made Oxycontin. And that's something that I have trouble with. I don't like for people to try to lay the blame solely on them. And again, like I said, I am not, and I will not ever take up for the Sackler family. I think that they are a very greedy family, and they didn't care the lives that they were taking away from people. They didn't care the devastation that was happening because of their drug, as long as it continued to put money in their pocket and, made them look better in their rich elite circle of friends. But what they have done to us is lead everybody to believe that this is an opiate crisis. And yeah, a lot of people did start on opiates, but there's also a massive amount of us that didn't. This crisis that we are in now, that is continuing to take all these lives and everything, is not the opiate crisis that falls solely on Purdue's shoulders. I do like the way that Theo explains substance use disorder. He describes it as having a mental blank spot in your mind, and how in your mind at times it doesn't even register to you that you have a problem. And he says, quote, your threshold for euphoria and your threshold for overdose are right next to each other, end quote. Now, that is especially true. And they were talking about fentanyl then, because Cami was really surprised that he had done fentanyl willingly. He goes on to tell her he was in active use for 6 years, and he found his recovery after he burned all his bridges with his friends and his family. And he didn't necessarily come to a rock bottom. He just had a moment of clarity to where he thought to himself, I may not overdose and die, but I'm going to be doing this for a really long time. And for him, that was what it took. We don't have to hit rock bottom for us to decide that we want to make a change in our life. He does also talk about the importance of when and if you do have that moment of clarity, you also have to have some type of support system left around you to help you with whatever path you choose to take. Those of us that work in this field or are active in this field, we know once people do have that moment of clarity, they have to have people around them that they know love them. We just have to let those people know that we love them, and we have to love them through the whole process. Even if it makes us mad, even if it breaks our heart, we have to love those people and keep them alive. Otherwise, they're never going to have any change, whether they want it or not. And I think a lot of people forget that. And there's a lot of people that think you just have to give them tough love. And the only thing that tough love ever got me was high. We know now where we stand today in 2022 that tough love does not work. It's not working. It's killing our loved ones. It's something that we need to take a proactive steps towards getting rid of that thought process, because it doesn't work and we're losing way too many people. And I am always talking on here about my support system. I know that this time, one of the big pivotal differences in my recovery this time is my support system. I know that one of the things that's made the biggest change for me is because this is the first time in my life I've been able to be completely 100% open and honest. My dad knows, my mom knows, my daughter knows, my fiance knows. It makes such a massive difference to know that you can just open your mouth and you don't have to think, okay, what do I have to lie about? It makes all the difference in the world for me to be able to wake up in the morning and be like, babe, I'm having a rough fucking day. To be able to text my dad and talk to my dad and be like, I'm having a really hard time. I cannot tell you all the good that it has done me this go around in my recovery to have that support system. If you or, someone is getting ready to make a big change in their life, because this is a big change. That is a massive shift in your life. So a support system around you where you can open up and tell people, this is working, this isn't working. I'm angry today and I don't know why. I'm sad today and I don't know why. Or I'm really happy today and I was miserable yesterday. Makes all the difference in the world. So I'm really, really glad that Theo brought that up, and that is something that he tries to take into his outreach when he talks to people, when he goes and does training. He brings that up and he talks to people about how important it is to have that support system around you. Of course, they talk in there about how essential it is for everyone to be trained and to carry naloxone and fentanyl test strips with them, even if you don't use substances yourself. We are hearing a lot of stories now about kids going to parties on the weekend and thinking, oh, well, I'll try. Somebody's got a bag of pills. Everybody's taking one. They all seem fine. Kids trying something for the first time and they're ODing. And if people at the party don't know what to look for signs of an overdose, if they don't have naloxone with them, if they haven't ever been taught rescue breathing, but if people don't have those tools, they don't use them. If they don't have that training, they don't know to use them. So it is massively important. Rescue breathing, things like that. If you don't have access to naloxone, you of course can do rescue breathing, because having oxygen in your body is very vital in an overdose. I do wish that they had talked about not just, people trying things for the first time if they're not regular users. I wish they had also talked about how easy it is for someone to overdose after like a long period of incarceration or a long period of abstinence. A lot of us think that when we go back to use that our tolerance level is going to be the same as what it was. A lot of people are experiencing an overdose because of that. That's a dangerous time for people. Anytime that you've gone for a long time, anytime that you're switching from one substance to another, if you're switching from one dealer to another, that's a dangerous time. And all it takes is just a couple minutes to just test your supplies. The next thing, Cami asked him, what is fentanyl? He gives her a good brief history of it. It was and is a very good drug for chronic acute pain. The thing that I really wish that everyone would learn to do is, when you are talking about fentanyl, it is vital for us to be putting the word illicit in front of it, because we're causing a lot of damage to the chronic pain community. They're having a lot of trouble getting regular pain medicine that they need because of everything that happened with OxyContin. And we are taking away their quality of life. I don't think that it's an intentional thing, but a lot of that has bled over into the chronic pain patient community. And I see a lot of people, I know a lot of people, I'm friends with a lot of people that are suffering because of it. And that's just one of the reasons why it's really important for us to put illicit in front of fentanyl. When you buy fentanyl off the street, it hasn't been made in a pharmaceutical environment. When dealers or whoever it is that is mixing up their batches, they don't have a degree in pharmacology. They're just mixing in whatever they want. And fentanyl is really expensive. So these dealers want fentanyl to stretch a really long way because it increases their profits. And depending on what reason they are selling for, it makes their personal supply last longer and is stronger. There's a lot of reasons why we should be making sure that we are defining whether we are talking about regular pharmaceutical grade fentanyl or the illicit fentanyl that is being distributed on our street. What I was saying about the analogs earlier, when they are talking about fentanyl test strips, I want you guys to know fentanyl test strips are great. Something that I need you to know about fentanyl test strips is that while they are great, there are 37, I believe, different analogs of fentanyl. And these test strips don't test for all of them yet. Cami's then trained on how to administer naloxone first, and then he shows her afterwards how to use the fentanyl test strips. He makes a dangerous error when he is training Cami on how to administer naloxone. Naloxone will last in your body 30 to 90 minutes. When I am doing a training, I tell people to pay attention to whoever it is, that is overdosed. Because there are times when naloxone will wear off after 30 minutes. However, you don't do a person more good by administering more doses of naloxone than is needed. Because sometimes it does take a while for it to work. He tells her that once you administer that first dose, that as soon as it wears off, that person is going to go back into overdose. That's a lie. Plain and simple. That is misinformation. That is not true. And it's super dangerous. Because if you administer more doses of naloxone to someone than need be, it's called stacking. Because the medicine stacks up in your body. And you can potentially throw them into a very, very horrid case of precipitated withdrawals. And when people who use substances feel like they're going through withdrawal, what do? We go out and get more to get rid of that feeling. I always tell people, you can assume that it's going to wear off in 30 minutes. That's why I tell people when I'm training them, stay with that person for a minimum of an hour. And I know that there are times and situations that those people don't want you hanging around with them for an hour unless they know you and you've built a rapport with them. That may be different. I understand that. But also understand that it's relatively easy to keep someone in your line of vision for an hour. And that sounds creepy. But I would rather be creepy by keeping someone in my line of vision for an hour, potentially save their lives, than not be. Please don't tell people that first dose wears off and that they're going to slip back into an overdose and die. Please don't believe that, and don't pass that misinformation on to anyone else. Naloxone is a really effective medication. It is good at what it does. And something else that I want to touch on before we move on to the next part of this video. Theo and Cami both really stressed calling 911. And I just want to let you guys know 80% of overdoses that are reversed without any other medical intervention other than the person administering the naloxone. 80% of them. And I say that because if you are a peer and you are, out working with people in your community who use drugs, they don't want you to call the law on them. Now, that being said, if you do feel obligated to call 911, let me tell you this. When you call 911, you do not have to tell the 911 dispatcher that you are attending an overdose. You can say, I'm with a person who is unresponsive. Can you please send an ambulance? And I say that because if it goes out over the airwaves when you're on the phone with 911 that you're requesting EMS at an overdose, they're going to send the cops. What's going to happen to them when the cops get called? If that person is experiencing homelessness and you call the cops and the cops come and they're not nice cops and they search that person and find other substances on them, or if they find paraphernalia on them, they're going to take them to jail. One of the reasons that I have a problem with calling the law is because when homeless people go to jail for a night, they have the potential to lose everything that they have, and they're already suffering. So they could lose the spot that they sleep in at night. They can lose all their belongings. So is it worth it? To me, it's not. It's a personal decision that everybody has to make. But I always make sure to tell people when I'm doing a training for naloxone, yeah, you can call 911. That's fine. If that's what makes you feel more comfortable, then call them. You don't have to tell them that you're attending an overdose. Any state that you're in, I urge you to get trained and to carry naloxone with you everywhere. Fentanyl test strips if you can. Yes, do it. Also, if you are going to do that, I also urge you to take 5 minutes to research Good Samaritan laws in your state, and also research whether naloxone is considered paraphernalia in your state. That way you know the laws in your state. You can protect yourself if the cops do show up, and you will know what your rights are and what they aren't. Cami learns that you can save someone's life by performing rescue breathing even if you don't have naloxone. If you are not certified in how to administer CPR, don't do it. Rescue breathing and CPR are two totally different things. Oxygen getting into their body and making sure that their brain is not cut off from that oxygen can save their life. So even if you don't have naloxone, if you see someone that's overdosing, you can save their life by just doing rescue breathing. Test strips, for fentanyl test strips, you can use the smallest amount of your substance to test for fentanyl. One single line on a fentanyl test strip means that it is positive. I want to tell you guys about something called the chocolate cookie effect. And one of my good friends on TikTok, her name is Chelsea, she explained this perfectly the other day. You know how a chocolate chip cookie is. Like over here, you'll have no chocolate chips at all. But over here, you have a lot of them, right? The reason that we tell people to test their drugs and to test them more than once is because of the chocolate chip cookie effect. So if you test your supplies over here and it comes up negative for fentanyl, you're like, all right, I'm good to go. Okay, you are for that part that you tested. When you're getting ready to do your next dose, test it again, because you could go all the way through and test negative and not have any fentanyl in there. But you could get to like the end of your bag and wham, there it is. Don't just test them once, test them multiple times. Go low and go slow. You can always do more. You can never do more. Continuing care after you have revived someone or while you're waiting on the paramedics to get there. If they're breathing, you need to make sure that you roll them into the rescue position. This is the rescue position. It's just pulling one of their knees up and cushioning their hands underneath their head. If you do call 911 while you're doing this and the paramedics get there, let them know, hey, I administered naloxone. I always tell them how many doses I've administered, what side I started on, whether they're going to take that person to the hospital for continuous care there. I always like to let them know. So my final thoughts on all this. I was really hoping, because Cami has such a large following, that she would continue on with this series. It's been like 2 months since she is. On the other side of that, I see her quite a lot on And Overdose's TikTok page, and I can tell that it's her voice that's narrating a lot of them. So I don't know if maybe she just focused her efforts there. She's still in it. She's still promoting knowledge and things like that. So I'm happy with that. The only thing that I dislike about this video, or the first one that she did, is there is a lot of stigmatizing language in there for people who use drugs. And that's personal choice. I refer to myself as an addict sometimes still, and there's people in the harm reduction community and in the recovery community that say that that's stigmatizing language. I never like it when anybody says clean. Cami says clean a lot. And he gives the implication a few times of people that are doing the right thing. And by the right thing, he's talking about people that are seeking or working towards their recovery. And I don't like that because not everybody who uses drugs has a chaotic relationship with them, and not everybody wants to go into recovery. So I don't like the implication that if you're not doing that, that you're not doing the right thing. The last thing that I want to say here, you guys, is anytime we decide to do things like this is a community-based effort. If you can get people in your community to receive this training, to carry naloxone with them, to not be afraid to use it, to tell other people about it, to get trained on how to use fentanyl test strips and to carry them with them and hand them out when they're needed and things like that, that creates a ripple effect in your community and all over the world. You know, it's like throwing a rock into a calm pond and you see all those ripples go out. That little rock could have been this big, but those ripples are going to reach all the way out to the end of that. That's what this stuff does. Me, in my mind, it doesn't matter where you stand on whether substance use disorder is a disease or it's not, whether it's a choice or it's not, whether you believe in harm reduction or not. The bottom line is that these are tools that you can learn how to use and carry with you that could save somebody's life. Because whether you agree with our choices or not, as people who use drugs, we are somebody's somebody. I equate it in my head to me reversing an overdose is the same as me witnessing an accident and stopping to help those people. To me, it's the same thing. I wouldn't judge and be like, nope, I don't like the car they're driving, so I'm not stopping to help them. Sorry. I'm going to wrap up today's video here. I'm going to link all those videos that I talked about in my description box, you guys. I'm also going to put a link to End Overdose. I have a big list of resources for you guys in my description box, more than what I normally do. So if you guys want, just scroll down after you get done with this video. You can hit that like button on your way down if you would like. It's free and it helps me out a lot. But just scroll down to my description box and there will be all kinds of stuff in. If you're anywhere and you would like to be trained in how to administer naloxone, please don't hesitate to hit me up. If you are in Virginia and you need naloxone, please don't hesitate to send me a message. If you are outside of Virginia and you don't know where to get naloxone and you are interested in getting your hands on some, you can also send me a message or drop me a comment below and I will help you find harm reduction organizations that are in your area or people that ship to you. If you guys are wanting any of this stuff and you're having trouble finding it, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Until the next one, you guys, take care of yourselves. Be safe, be nice to each other, and I will see you guys in the next one.